Class. This is Gender and Politics. We are here for another lecture video on this gender and politics, and we will be uh, I will be sharing with you the following lesson and objective. We have three. First, we will try to identify the factors that contribute to the process and phenomenon of gender discrimination in the government. Titingnan daw natin kung paano nagkakaroon ng mga uh, ano yung nagdudulot dun sa proseso ng tinatawag natin na gender bias, gender discrimination sa gobyerno. Of course, sa larangan ng politika. We will also examine the intersections of gender and power relations within the general political system. Okay, titingnan din natin yung ugnayan na tinatawag na gender at saka kwentong kapangyarihan kaya doon sa loob na tinatawag natin na sa gobyerno, sa isang political system. Okay? Kumbaga sa kalakaran ng politika. Okay? May connect ba yun? Okay. And we will also reflect on the impact of gender discrimination in government and governance. At anong epekto nito? Okay, sa kwento. Sa gobyerno. Like kung ano yung epekto ng gender discrimination, hindi lamang sa gobyerno, kundi sa taong bayan. Of course. Siyempre kasi apektado dito ang taong bayan kung ano yung sistema natin, okay, sa pamunuan. Okay. So, ating umpisahan. Sabi dito, the relationship between gender and governance is often neglected. Madalas hindi daw natin napapansin na meron talagang ugnayan yung dalawa. Okay? Yung gender at saka kwentong ano ba sa governance, yung Tagalog, pamunuan. Okay. So, of course, andito yung elemento ng leadership. Okay. So, sabi dito, much influential political thought is still based on perceptions. Okay, on the separation between the public realms of politics, military affairs, and the administration, and the private realm of domestic and family life. So, yun nga. Yung kaisipan na sinasegregate natin o na parang pag yung usapin na politika, okay, parang nagkakaroon ng kumbaga binibigyan natin, binabox natin yung mga bagay-bagay. Hindi natin nakikita yung connection ng politika, okay, sa military affairs, okay. And of course, ano yung mga underlying issues na yung kwentong gender, okay, nakapaloob sa mga bagay-bagay, no, sa lipunan, yung kwentong pamunuan, okay, usaping, okay, militar, okay, sa mga bagay-bagay na may ugnayan sa buhay natin, no, bilang isang tao sa lipunan. So, ang chapter na ito, in this chapter, we'll really try to uncover, okay, the relationship between gender, okay, and politics. And how does it affect not only governance, but governments. And, of course, the people. We, the people, that are being governed. Okay? So it says here, governance is a slippery term. Okay. Well, sige nga, tanungin ko nga kayo, ano ba pagkakaintindi nyo sa governance? Okay, I would like you to, okay, comment, okay, on the section below, just for me to check that you have reached this part. Ano ang pagkakaintindi nyo? Okay, ano yung Tagalog, okay, ng governance? Pagkakaintindi mo. Okay? You may check Google, but okay, I'm only asking how you understood it. Okay? Okay, sabi dito. Okay, so please, okay, click on the comments below. I'll be checking that. Okay, click and hit, okay, and then mag-comment kayo. Sabi dito, governance, okay, is a slippery term with many definitions, depending on who is talking about it and on the context in which it is used. Universal na ba ito? Okay. Put simply, governance refers to decision making. Ayan. So, meron na kayong English term. So, with that, ano yung pagkakaintindi nyo sa Tagalog? Okay. Governance refers to decision making. You can also expand that. So, pag sinabi mong decision making, ano yung nakapaloob doon? Okay. So, try to include that in your definition in your comment below. Okay. Refers to the decision making by a range of, okay, interested people or stakeholders. Ano rin yung stakeholders? So, dalawa na yung kakomen yan. Okay? Governance at saka kung alam niyo ano yung Tagalog ng stakeholders. Okay? Okay. Of course, in English, okay? This would include those people that are in a position of power and the ordinary citizens. People on the opposite pole, on the opposite side of the power pole, those who are uh, governing and those who are being governed. Okay, so so it says here, okay, political gender inequality. So here's a little note here that would tell us that even in democratic societies in which gender equality is legally mandated, gender discrimination in politics still occur. This is both in regards to presumptions about political allegiances that fall along gender lines and desperate gender representations within representative democracies. Maalala nyo yung huling video natin, pinag-usapan natin yung theories of theoretical theories in gender. So maalala natin may third waves sa feminism. And the first wave basically reflects about the women asking, clamoring for their civil rights. So, and the lesson that we can relate from there would be the idea na, so feminism went through three waves. So ibig sabihin nun, kahit ng first wave, feeling nila kulang pa rin, no? Sila ng karapatan. And the fact na minandate na ito. And that's why kailangan magkaroon pa ito ng pangatlong pakikibaka para makamit nila talaga yung idea, konsepto ng tinatawag nila na, karapatan nila bilang isang tao, bilang isang mga babae, yung gender equality. Okay? So, then how much more in less developed countries like us? So, yun nga, the right to vote, first wave, and then the right to decide what happens to their body, third wave. And then ano kayang right ang susunod? Okay. The right not to get married, and the right, well, let's see, nag-evolve pa rin naman yung feminism. Okay. So moving on, let's take a look at here, intersections of gender and politics. May connect nga ba? May ugnayan nga ba yung gender at saka politics? Oo naman. Traditional nga lang kasi pag-usapan natin politika, ito ay para sa mga lalaki. No? Yun yung traditional na kaisipan. Okay. Na pag-aralan natin dun sa gender role na men are supposed to be talking about politics and sports and women are supposed to be talking about their chores, their laundry, and their children, and anything that happens in their house. Okay, so that is traditional. That nowadays we know that as societies evolve, politics evolve, okay, and issues in gender do evolve. And even as we go through the earlier times when, it basically started with some of the civil rights that we have discussed, okay, yung voting rights for women. Before 1920, women did not have, the national right to vote in the United States. Okay? And come to think that this is already the land of the free, the land of the progressive people. Of course, the rights of suffrage of women in Asia and other parts of the world came in much later. Okay, women's suffrage. Okay, but then the lesson that we are trying to dissect in this part would be the idea that it actually started the intersection between gender and politics. Took off in one of the historical highlights, nodal points in history, like this one, the right of women to vote. Because come to think of it, they are also citizens. They are also, in fact, a majority of the governed. Okay? So kailangan mag-vote ang mga kababaihan kasi kasama nga din sila sa tinatawag na member din sila ng taong bayan. And in fact, population-wise, alam natin, mas marami sila. Okay? Sa porsyento na tinatawag natin na taong bayan. Okay? Then, so moving on. Women in recent politics. Mula nung nagkaroon sila ng karapatan, may bigay yung karapatan nila na bumoto at magkaroon ng boses sa kwentong presidential race, who will win the election. They also have asserted rights and gained recognition to be a productive member of the different departments in the government and become also a political figure. Take for example in 1981, okay, President Ronald Reagan named Sandra Day O'Connor, okay, as the first female Supreme Court. So women have also made a mark, okay, in, okay, politics. Um, Not necessarily as a front runner like running for president, but in other significant department. Okay? Tingnan natin ang itsura ni Sandra Day O'Connor. Okay, ito po siya. Okay? So, born siya noong 1913. So, let's take a look at some of her images here. So, yeah. She was actually first, okay, female justice. Okay? So, dito sa atin, kumbaga sila yung, okay, sina Supreme Court, okay, justice, no? Yung mga pinaka mataas ito na posisyon sa Supreme Court. And moving on, okay, she was later on joined by Ruth K. B. Ginsburg. You remember we watched this movie? Pinanood natin yun, di ba? Okay. So si Ginsburg was nominated by Bill Clinton. Si Sandra was nominated by Ronald Reagan. So we have to give credit to this man who really recognized, okay, the potential of amazing women like Sandra Day O'Connor and si Ginsburg. O, di ba nakaka-inspire yung mga kwento nila? We don't have a movie on Sandra, but the story of Ginsburg was, I think, more than enough for you to know that, okay, we do have, it takes super extraordinary women. Okay? Yun yung nakakalungkot doon kasi ang mga lalaki, hindi man kailangang superlative ang kanilang mga achievement para magkaroon sila, maluklok sila sa kataas-taasan. Di ba? Mayor nga maging president, di ba? Pwedeng mag-jump. Okay? Si Miriam Defensor Santiago, okay? Kakatakot ang kanyang resume, hindi pa rin siya naging presidente, no? Okay? So anyway, that is a reality that actually we are beginning to look at and try to reflect. Ginsburg really fought, okay, clawed her way, okay, into the highest levels of, okay, political power. She has to really prove that she is worthy of respect, okay, worthy, she's as good as the husband and as good as any male, okay, lawyer. Okay. And later on, marami nang sumunod. Okay? So pioneering women like this later on encourage other women to really strive and, okay, be recognized. Okay? So we have, okay, Sonia, okay, Sotomayor and Elena Kagan. Okay? So these are three of the 9 sitting justices. Okay? So mga tatlong kababaihan daw na naging hurado. No? Okay. So, and then meron nang sumunod. Even now, okay, sa pamunuan ni Biden, babae na rin. Actually, si Trump, no, ang nag-nominate. Medyo controversial ito. Okay, sa Supreme Court. And doon nga yung debate ng babae yan gagawin puppet lang ni Trump. But anyway, okay, it's still such an honor to know that women are being recognized, okay, as capable, okay, figures in other branches of the government. Okay, regardless of, well, iba ng kwento yung kanino sila loyal, but justices are supposed to be very independent entity. Hindi sila dapat ma-influensya or magkaroon ng even yung utang na loob kung sino nag-nominate sa kanila. They're supposed to be apolitical. Okay? Okay. Moving on, and a very significant time came about when a woman tried to really challenge the highest political post in America. Of course, you know her name to be that of Hillary Clinton, no? Yung asawa ni dating presidente na si Clinton. And come to think of it, she is a white woman. Okay. Of course, she lost to a white man. And the name was Trump. Okay. But first, she lost to Barack Obama. Maalala ko yun noon. Nagkaroon actually ng political and social dilemma in America. And the media is going, is having posing a frenzied discussion about whom are you going to vote? Would it be the first black, okay, president or the first woman president? Okay. Malala ko noon, I was overseas and sabi ko, if I am an American with that question, mahirap na namang mag-decide. Pero at that time, of course, Obama was very much uh, no? He's very much, okay, a coming of age, new breed of politician. So, I'm going to ask you, kung kayo, tatanungin, okay, kayo, i-assume nyo na kayo ay isang Amerikano, whom would you vote? Comment, okay, below. Would you vote for the first black male president or the first woman president? So, kumbaga, kung tayo ay magka-flashback, okay? Again, just to check if you are here, please comment below. Okay. Would you say A, okay, white male president, a white black male president? Would you have voted for Barack or would you have voted for Hillary? Ganun lang naman. Okay. So you can say, then, well, maybe you can explain a little bit why. Okay. I will sustain my personal opinion. We will try to discuss that, okay, in class. Okay. Para hindi ma-influensyahan ng inyong vote. But, so, and Hillary tried again, and he lost to Trump. Looks like she lost twice. Is it, and come to think of it, is it not her time or is it not the women's time in the history of America? Okay? Ngayon hanggang sa vice president lang muna tayo, si Kamala Harris, a woman of color. Of course, you know, this very, very, that's like breaking the mold, the political mold, wherein women do have a voice in politics and do deserve a seat in the highest, okay, position of power. Okay? Pero sabi dito, despite the increase of women, okay, in American politics, okay, mamaya pupunta tayo sa Asia at saka, of course, meron tayong pag-uusapan dito. Inaantabayan na natin yung kwento ng Myanmar. Okay? Andun pa rin yung gender stereotype. So, syempre, ang basis natin yung pinakamakapangyarihang, okay, lipunan sa buong mundo, no? America. Okay. Data from 2006 would confirm that, okay, both male and female voters, regardless of their political persuasions, expected men to perform better as politicians than women. Another funny thing, social expectations. Other than men are expected to rule and are expected to become presidents and therefore it's really hard, okay, for a woman to really go through the top. Hillary actually has a very good record and she really proved to the world, okay, ang kanyang performance portfolio was actually very good. But it just took, one, mudsliding, okay, blood smearing, okay, political smearing from Trump to really, steal the votes from her. Parang andaling siraan yung babae sa politics samantalang kung si Trump yan karumal-dumal ang kanyang krimen wala pa rin, no? See, tingnan nyo yung the power and privilege of a white male politician. But okay, going back, it says here, the debate therefore here is that since women were given the right to vote and they are now representing a voting population, a niche, okay? Or is there such a niche for women's vote? Meron bang tinatawag na women's vote in politics? Okay? Or a female vote? They would call it female vote or a women's voice. I would call it a women's voice, okay? Kaya tinitingnan yung mga political strategies sa bawat presidente na tumatakbo. Other than women, there is now the recognition that since women are already a growing force, okay, andun yung tinatawag na female vote. And when we try to, naging tanyag na ito na strategy ng panahon ni Obama, especially for the black women. And let's take a look at some of the images that we would. Okay, ito. And kinapick up lang yan ni Trump. Okay? You remember this picture? Okay. The black women really, really fought for, okay, Barack Obama. Okay? It was actually, where are the Barack women? Okay, ito ay yung mga Trump men. Trump women. Okay? However, this is very okay. Wala ba kayong napapansin? What colors do you see? Where are the black women? Black women. Okay, tingnan lang natin. Okay, here you're looking at a picture of the black women. Again, what do you notice? What color do you see? Halo-halo, di ba? Next. Okay. And okay, there's also the women vote for Hillary. Okay, let's take a look. Ayan. What color do you see? Are you observing what I am observing? So one thing is definitely clear. Uh, Women are the women's voice, the women's vote, rather than the women's voice, are being sought as a matter of political strategy. It's just like as a politician, okay, they know that a big chunk of voters out there are the women. And you remember Trump begging the suburban women, kumbaga dito sa atin yung mga probinsyanang mga babae, okay, niligawan niya kasi daw ayaw na sa kanya. Okay? So, it was claimed that women, Trump lost to the suburban women's vote in America. Dahil nga, na-disillusion nga sila sa ginagawa niya. Okay? However, going back to the argument in women in politics here, um, it was in more recent politics and in America, this is very much an in thing. Not probably, sabihin na natin na, oo, sincere sila, andun yung recognition na, but women are, women's vote exist. However, it does not necessarily mean that recognition is, it doesn't necessarily mean that that would translate into power and gender equality. Okay? So, kita nyo, parang ginagamit pa rin nila yun for political gains, specifically for male. Okay? Kasi nga, di nanalo na sana si Hillary, di ba? Okay? Kung doon lang sila nag-rely. However, parang, dagdag lang sa strategy nila. Okay. So, let's move on. How about in the Philippines and in other Asian nations? Parang hindi ganon ka politicized yung konsepto ng women's vote. Parang, di ba, it still remains to be a minority voice. Parang hindi pa rin nare-recognize yung kapangyarihan ng mga babae, okay, as a major. Pero, okay, one thing that we do observe is that, okay, pagdating ng election, who are actually campaigning for a candidate that would run for mayor, councilors? Mga babae, di ba? Who are actually the hands-on, okay, campaign managers? Mga babae. They would be going into restaurants, okay, wearing some shirt for this councilor, for this mayor, okay. I'm not saying that men are not doing their job, yung mga frontliners sa pangangampanya, okay, dito sa Philippines for a male candidate are women. Napansin nyo yun? Okay. So it's okay. The gender situation in the Philippines is characterized by sharp contradiction. It graphically showcases samples of women's advancement in politics, academic, and professional excellence in Indian legislation. Yes, just like America, okay, Filipino women have risen to the challenge of proving themselves worthy of top political posts. Okay. But again, okay, they really couldn't rise, okay, up to the highest level that they deserve. We have Leni Robredo still being, bullied, sorry for the word, okay, still being put in her, pink box that she can't do, okay, and it's still hard, okay. Of course, we do have GMA, okay, as a woman president, and of course, we did have Cory Aquino, okay. Probably among Asian countries, we were one of the pioneering, okay, countries that would have broken the mold of can women lead. In the case of Cory Aquino, well, the husband has to die. Okay, it was actually an extraordinary time. But if you come to think of it, an ordinary woman going through the ordinary way and the process of gaining political power, okay, it's not that easy. It's not a Cinderella story. So even Robredo, namatay, there was like a parallelism in the story of Robredo, like parang si Cory, namatay yung asawa niya, okay, and the husband is actually like an aspiring public servant. So Lenny had to represent. So kung titingnan ninyo, parang panakibutas pa rin sila doon sa reputasyon ng asawa nila. Cory, okay, with Ninoy. Okay, and Lenny, okay, with the husband. Okay, GMA. Well, GMA is probably of a different, okay, level, but still the same. She had to live under the shadow of the father. Okay, and she really had to prove that she has to go through extraordinary lens, okay, to have become, okay, our president, the first, okay, well, not the first, okay, but the second, okay, lady president. So the discussion here, ang usapin dito would be, okay, let's take a look. The socio-cultural traditions are clashing, okay, with the MTV and cyberspace generation. Okay, the long history of colonialism has embedded a patriarchal culture. Well, so this is just explaining, okay, what I have just said. Our colonial patriarchal culture really sets a ceiling as to the Filipino woman, kung hanggang saan siya makakarating. And it takes an extraordinary story, extraordinary once in a blue moon kind of story for Cory Aquino to have emerged, for Lenny Robredo, and maybe for Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. Sabihin na natin, no, she was born with a golden spoon, kung hindi naging presidente yung papa niya. So these are all extraordinary women who may be lucky or unluckily, pushed, okay, into limelight, okay, and okay, if not because, okay, of the shadow that they were under, okay, their efforts will not be recognized. Kasi nga, okay, of our patriarchal culture. And because of the idea that women are still full-time homemakers, subordinate to men, so like they are still subordinate even as, kay politicians, parang pinagpapatuloy lang ni Cory ang laban ni Ninoy, gano'n. Pinagpapatuloy lang ni Lenny ang laban ng kanyang asawa, gano'n. Pinagpapatuloy lang ni GMA, okay, ang legacy ng kanyang ama, gano'n, no? Okay, so they really still could not come out being recognized, okay, as to what they are worth. If ever, um, uh, Miriam Defensor Santiago could have really been the first, but masaklap pa rin, no? Imagine not even someone as brilliant as Santiago didn't make it. Then who will make it? Baka it will take another Ninoy Aquino to introduce another Cory Aquino. Okay, so let's see. Anyway, I hope things will be better, but it says here, okay, moving on. This puts the gender equality issue at the forefront of national discourse. So ang tanong, bakit? Ano bang tingin natin mga Pilipino sa babaeng politician? Mahina ba? Takot ba tayo na magkaroon talaga? Hindi ba tayo kampante na magkaroon ng babaeng presidente? Or sobrang takot tayo kay Miriam? Hindi, takot sila kay Miriam. Okay? Na maging presidente. Baka na-intimidate sila. This legal and policy gains resulted from the strong voice of women, okay, that started even during the anti-dictatorship struggle. Okay, that culminated with the ascension. Yun nga yung sinasabi ko. We had to go through politically tumultuous times, extraordinary times. Okay, we had to be at the forefront, okay, of world politics and, okay, drama, okay, in order for, okay, the women leader to emerge out of the ashes of this political bloodshed and chaos. Okay, however, it says here by law, okay, the first Declaration of Principle, Article 2, Section 14, which asserted that the state recognizes the role of women. It is part, our constitution do recognize. Walang political ceiling by law, okay, as based on the constitution that women cannot become president. However, the problem is in our culture. Kasi andito rin, no, sa labor, Article 8, Labor, Section 14, that the state shall protect working women by providing safe and healthful working conditions. Okay, so ito na yung women in labor. So which we will be taking in the next chapter. But okay, what it's being discussed in here would be the idea that legally there is no legal restrictions for women, okay, to become leaders, to become uh, be it in politics or in labor relations. Okay, so where does the problem lie? It is in the political culture. It is in the work culture, work ethics. Okay, so na-lift na yung batas, sinasabi, mga babae, pwede na kayong maging presidente. Pero sa totoo lang, pag naging presidente sila or tatakbo ng presidente, taas kilay, dahil nga kultura natin, kabado or parang feeling natin, hindi sila kasing galing ng mga lalaki. Hindi sila kasing astute ng mga lalaking presidente at kasing effective o kaya kasing galing. Okay? So, so you know that that is a fact, no? Okay. Following the constitutional provisions and the subsequent effort, okay, and even as this legal, um, women were even more given more legal freeway, okay, with the God, okay, with the gender and development, okay, um, international mandates to national mandates, okay, women, okay, were given even more voice and may pera po dito, no? Kanyari 5% of yung government agencies, nakalat po yan para sa gender concerns. So, kumbaga, sa bawat munisipyo, okay, and in fact, say in our school, we do have a budget, 5% allotted for, okay, GAT, okay, gender and development. Okay. So, we also have all these, okay, party lists that would be, okay, run and represented by women. We have women in national building law. Okay, we all have these legal initiatives. Okay, wala na tayong Pinay mail order bride kasi okay, this was already banned under, considered a human trafficking. Okay, and yun nga yung repatriation law. So, you know that, okay, more recently, the rights of women, even as the rights of women in different, okay, issues, okay, have been guaranteed by the law, okay, and of course we do recognize and we are appreciative of that. Okay, these are actually milestones. Kunyari, ito pa sa military training, no? Ang dami nating nakikita na mga babae na pwede nang magpulis. Okay? So, ilan ba sa inyong gustong magpulis dyan? Okay? So, di ba? Dumadami na yung mga babaeng pulis, hindi na lang mga lalaki. And so, we are actually witnessing a dramatic, okay, shift. Okay? And these are still part of governance, not necessarily politics, but governance. Okay? So, tanong, the question is, okay, are these signs that we as a nation are getting there into, okay, a state wherein women will be given the full recognition and the state will, are we a nation, okay, to show the world that gender equality can exist among poor countries in a traditional patriarchal culture. Kaya natin ipakita. Kaya nating baguhin yung ilang siglong kultura natin. Sige, let's see. Okay, so I have here, let's take a look at the faces of the women politicians in our country. So these are a few, okay, remaining, okay, women warriors who are um, struggling, giving their best effort, trying to make a mark in Philippine politics. Risa Taveras is one of the authors of the Philippine Mental Health Law. Of course, you know Laila de Lima, very controversial. Okay, but okay, this one is she has her own, okay, accomplishment and also of course the Be Nice and the Villiers. Um, Come to think of it, what made these women, Filipino women, rise to the top? Are you seeing some pattern? Are they ordinary Filipino women? Would it take extraordinary Filipino women to be recognized and have a voice in Philippine politics? I think you know the answer, right? These are rich kids, if not intelligent, and who self-made. Anak ni FPJ, asawa ni, anak ni Binay. Risa Ontiveros is self-made. Of course, Lauren Legarda, born with, she came from a political, okay, family, and it was known that her childhood Yan, nakita ko yung bahay nito dito sa Baguio, somewhere in Baguio. It's actually a very uh, grand house. Nandito yung kanilang ancestral, one of their ancestral home is here in Baguio. The lesson here is that in order for a woman to rise in politics, okay, in a third world country like the Philippines, you have to be somebody. Okay, so you have to have like a special okay passport. Okay, otherwise, zooming out, looking at the statistics around the world. Okay, let's take a look. What kind of women would shine in other parts of the world? Well, I don't know if they would have the same pattern, but let's take a look at the figures. Okay, Rwanda would be an African country, I believe, that okay would have the biggest number of women elected to the lower house. This is out of 2008 data. Okay, followed by okay, Sweden of Europe, and then Cuba, Spain, Germany, Afghanistan, China, UK. Andito lang yung US, tayo wala. We're not even Brazil. Okay, but I hope, well, we could have an update on this, but okay, the idea in this statistics, we can still take a look at other statistics. Okay, like a more recent one, 2015. Okay, say for example here in America, we have okay, how many percentage of women are there? Okay, representing women in state legislature in 2015. Okay, still very few. Take a look at these numbers: 21%. Okay, women of color. Okay, 24%. Okay, and then when it comes to the political parties, 25% from the okay state reps. Okay, of course we know that red would mean the Republicans and the blue would be the Democrats. But okay, well, um, I know we are not okay. This is not something familiar for us, but these are political parties in America. Okay, and we can still take a look at okay some statistics that would really tell us that there is indeed a gender gap when it comes to okay women in politics. Okay? Men are still seen as world leaders, and there are only very few okay female okay world leader that we can actually relate to. And let's take a look at this. Okay, so let's take a look at okay the female leaders around the world. Of course, now we have Merkel. Okay, let's take a look at. Sorry, we also have Merkel, and okay, we also have several here, no? And different countries around the world, and different times. But still, it's quite small. It doesn't really fill in the globe. Okay, so we have Denmark, we have Costa Rica, Peru, Trinidad and Tobago, okay, Croatia, Kosovo, Switzerland, okay, of course Germany, Angela Merkel, okay, is very prominent. Okay, Slovakia, Finland, okay, and wow, Bangladesh made it in 2009, and of course, okay, Australia. Okay, so okay, let's take a look. Okay, ito si Merkel. Okay, of course, Clinton would still be a part of that. Okay, let's take a look at the face. And of course, even when you try to look at the history of women leaders, you also have to consider that historically the forms of okay government, okay, the political structure, okay, that evolved pre-democratic countries. Okay, nung uso yung mga monarchies, okay, hindi pwedeng mamuno yung mga babae. Of course, we have kings. Okay, it's very also rare that we do have okay queens who emerge out of the ashes of a fallen king. Okay, so modern day, fast forward, political forms of government, democratic or otherwise, well, most probably democratic. Okay, otherwise non-democratic, like China, a woman can never ever lead. Okay, so these are the faces of women leaders. Still quite a few, right? Kung search natin mga men, of course, pupuno yan. Okay, but of course, okay, we're glad that these women have represented themselves and the women's voice in a most graceful manner. Okay, so beautiful, powerful women. Okay? So going back to the module, okay, we're going to wrap this up and say, okay, we're going to summarize the gender situation going back to the Philippines. Dapat nakasama yan. Of course, nakasama tayo dapat yan with Korea, Kino, and GMA. So the legal framework has provided the Filipino political system have emerged along with the times. We now have women world leaders, and the Philippines did have some women presidents. But as okay, I have said, okay, they really their stories, okay, they have to really break the mold, okay, the patriarchal mold, and the political timing, okay, was very right, and that's why they made it. Okay, otherwise, kahit may legal framework tayo na hindi nagbibigay ng sining, again, it's the culture. And women did have made significant advances in politics. Okay? And okay, well, compared to other Asian nations, okay, like Japan, well, their form of government is different. So women are finding their voice in an entirely different way. Otherwise, they still did not have a woman president, but they do have, okay, the empress, okay, as being a political figure that is also being revered to, okay, as regarded as a political figure. Okay. When it comes to the woman's voice in Philippine politics, meron nga ba? I don't know. Tingnan natin yan. Okay, tatanungin ko yan sa Sitwork. Okay. The statistics on women remain indicative of the deep-rooted and widespread problem. Okay, parang wala eh. Okay. The labor market, meron pa rin. Okay. We still have it. May problema pa rin siguro. Okay. And the social image of the Filipina is still that of a weak person. Although the Filipino woman is coming of age, okay, trying to assert herself, okay, as okay, liberated, and tries to go through the global wave of okay empowerment. Meron at meron pa rin tayong issue. Okay, we still have the tang of the patriarchal okay society and family for women are still being are still encountering problems and still have to go through the gender discrimination hurdle, okay, or bump. Okay. So, anong epekto nito sa gobyerno? Anong epekto nito sa atin? Malaki. Okay. So, ngayon, ramdam natin, okay, without trying to politicize, okay, the current issues, okay, ibabato ko lang sa inyo ang challenge. No? So, what if we have a lady, or try to go back to the times when we had a lady president? Iba yung iba ba yung ating kumpiyansa? Iba yung pag-handle natin bilang isang bansa doon sa mga issues. Ngayon mainit yung usaping pagtutugis sa mga radikal. Parang hindi tolerated. Nakakatakot ngayon kasi we are actually going through a subtle forms of martial law. Yes. Okay? Until the next election. Because, okay, if you are identified as a radical left, you can just be charged, okay, with a murder charge and, be given a shoot to kill. And if you flex ko dito yung kaso na yung Wendell bullying. Okay? So, it's very scary. And we know how the Filipino politics works. And being with a Filipino man president who is feared and seen as powerful or a copycat of Marcos, okay, is, concerning. Diba? Nakakatakot talaga. And then when you come to think of it, okay, what if kung babae yung ating presidente? Would we have different issues? Would we have, okay, different ways of handling social problems? Itong COVID, okay, kwento ng mga divergence, yung mga kwento ng mga radical left, kwento ng communismo. Would we be relating to China in an entirely different way? Okay, so definitely, if we do have we do have a women's voice in the Philippines. However, it's not as branded as a political strategy, unlike in the West, and it's still not being used. Okay, so sana magkaroon din tayo ng paggamit na sa women's voice kasi come to think of it, we are like 100+ million, okay, nation. And what if we tap the women's voice and the women's vote and to really come up with the most sensible decision as to who will rule, okay, this country, this poor country, di ba? Okay? So, hindi ko sinasabi na bobong mag-vote yung mga lalaki. However, if you try to, okay, have the logic of there is such a thing as a women's vote, and this women's vote might also be gender bias in the way they vote. What if? Mga ganun lang ba nung usapin? Okay? So in the end, we all want to have a sound government. And we all want the government, okay, to be advocating sound gender, okay, equality policies. So it's really important for a government to really recognize issues, okay, on gender and do recognize, okay, and prioritize development thrust that would be enlightening, encouraging, and giving a voice to women. Okay? Kaya, sana magkakaroon, dumadami naman yung mga babaeng mga na-involve sa politika. Okay? Pero yun nga lang, kailangan kasi napansin natin, if you are an ordinary Filipino woman, tatakbo kang konsyal, kapitan, kaya kung hindi ka artista, businessman, kaya kilala din, sino ka, di ba? Hindi ka pwedeng mamuno. Okay? So, ideally, of course, we have here that women still face a lack of political encouragement. Kaya nga, alam natin yun. I think we all recognize that. You cannot, if you are not, kaya nga, nag-aartista muna sila bago sila sasabak sa politika, di ba? Gagawa muna ng kung ano-anong gimmick para maging matunog, okay? Para magkaroon ng boses, okay? At ma-recognize, di ba? So, a whole of government approach is crucial to advancing the role of women in government. Holistic policymaking will not only help bring more women into public light, but will ensure that gender considerations are more systematically embedded in policies. Sana darating yung panahon na ikaw bilang isang ordinaryong Pilipino, okay, na babae, basta kaya mong mamuno at pinatunayan mo yung sarili mo, kaya ay pwede kang mamuno, okay? At magkaroon ka ng pantay, okay, na pagtrato ng bawat Pilipino sa kakayahan mo bilang isang pangulo, senador, hindi ka kailangang maging kasing sikat ni Pacquiao, o kaya anak ni ganito, okay? So anyway, we do have here a list to empower women and fully leverage their skills in global economy. So zooming out, okay, there are following suggestions here, like the need to improve our public institutions to ensure, okay, of course, these are all ideals. Probably you do have your own, okay, idea on how we can really give, okay, equal voice, okay, to women and really welcome their potential and make, okay, governance better for us, okay, because we believe that if we do have, okay, sound gender equality policies, then we'll be having more quality governance, right? So magiging mas matino yung pamumuno at pamumuhay natin bilang isang bansa kung, okay, i-welcome natin yung mga kababaihan, yung kakayahan nila din na mamuno bilang isang leader. Okay? So, create clearly defined roles for implementing a gender equality. So, magkakaroon tayo ng gender equality dyan. Marami, no? I believe we do have a list, okay? And you can add 1,000 and 100, okay, practical list here as Filipinos on how we can bring about the gender gap. So we do recognize there's a gender gap in Philippine politics, in Philippine society, because we are colonized and we do have a patriarchal culture. Okay? So, good luck sa ating lahat kung kayo man ay isang future na politician na babae. Okay? Sana, or I hope kayo ay magbibigay din ng isang napakagandang legacy. At sana kayo ay din ay maging simbolo, ay halimbawa ng babaeng makapangyarihan dahil ikaw ay babae, hindi dahil ikaw ay isang babaeng artista, babaeng anak ng mayaman, at etc. Okay? So with that, okay, I am now ending this lecture. Okay, and you would expect, okay, some assessment, okay, in relation to this video lecture. So yeah, thank you very much for listening and have a nice day, everyone. Goodbye. Till the next video.